Tonight, Niue electors on Saturday will decide on 4 constitutional amendment bills in a public referendum. Update from the Pacific Islands Forum Leaders meeting. And the Cool Roof project begins next week. Good evening and welcome to our BCN News Bulletin. I'm Mersa Takala. A special whakalofa atu to our viewers from across the region thanks to our partners at Pacifica TV. Leading our bulletin tonight, this coming Saturday, the 31st of August, the island will go to the polls to vote on 4 proposed amendments to the country's constitution. This is the only second constitution amendment poll since inception in 1974. Also on Saturday, 4 villages will go to the polls to elect their village councillors. Here's more with Esther Pavihi.
The 4 villages of Makefu, Liku, Lakapa and Mutalau will go to the polls to elect their new village councils. All 14 villages will go to the polls to vote in the Constitution Amendment polls in only the second public referendum to change parts of the newer Constitution since 1974. The First Amendment Bill is to change the name of the Premier to Prime Minister, but it will remain Palemia in Wangahau-Niue. The second bill is to increase the number of the Cabinet from 4 to 6, with the inclusion of 2 ministers. The third bill is to extend the term of the Niue Assembly from 3 to 4 years, and the fourth bill is to change the name of the Audit Office to the Auditor General of New Zealand. The Chief Electoral Officer, Darren Tovaka, has been on radio over the past 2 weeks with the staff of the Niue Assembly to explain the voting process for the public referendum or the Constitution Amendment poll, with the key message for the people who are registered on the electoral roll, around 1,600 people, to turn up to vote on Saturday. Polling stations will open from 9 a.m. Whatever the outcome may be after 6 p.m. on Saturday, the island will finally find out for sure on Monday the 2nd of September the final results of the public referendum. What should be noted though is that if all 4 bills are supported by the majority of valid votes cast on Saturday, all 4 bills will come into immediate effect as soon as the Speaker of the Niue Assembly, the Honourable Hema Douglas, signs them into law and amending our Constitution. Esther Pavihi for BCN News.
The 53rd Pacific Islands Forum Leaders meeting began on Monday this week in Tonga. This year's forum theme reflects a collective commitment to addressing the challenges facing the Blue Pacific continent and to foster collaboration and cooperation. Hosted by the Government of Tonga, the forum sees Tonga's Prime Minister, Honourable Huakava Meiliku Sovaleni, serving as the chairperson. On Tuesday, Niue Premier Honourable Dalton Tangilangi delivered a key statement at the Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Plenary. In his address, the Premier expressed his appreciation to the people and government of the Kingdom of Tonga for their warm hospitality and the shared experiences of extreme weather and climate events that challenge the region. Premier Tangilangi reiterated the desire for a prosperous future for the people and future generations of the Pacific, noting that a united forum is central to achieving this vision. The 53rd Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Plenary meeting will continue with further discussions and deliberation focused on the future of the Pacific region. In a media release last Thursday, the Niue Public Health Division has received a comprehensive report following a thorough investigation into concerns over a potential link between water quality and the increasing number of cancer cases on the island. On the 9th of February 2024, the Public Health Division requested assistance from the World Health Organization to explore concerns about the quality of Niue's groundwater. This inquiry came up due to concerns that certain contaminants in the water might be linked to a rise in cancer cases. The last study on this matter was carried out in 2010 with support from the South Pacific Applied Geoscience Commission. Technical and expert support was provided and water samples were collected from key areas with significant population density, and historical concerns included the villages of Alofi, Avaea, Liku, Mutalau, Tuapa, and the Niue High School Reservoir. The results showed that the levels of determinants were below the maximum accepted value threshold set by WHO and New Zealand standards, and there were no carcinogens detected. Carcinogenic determinants refer to substances that have the potential to cause cancer when present in drinking water. This can include certain chemicals, heavy metals, or organic compounds that may pose health risks over time. The findings are clear that Niue's groundwater is unlikely to be a contributing factor to the increase in cancer cases on the island. The final report was completed in May 2024 with a collaboration between various stakeholders. BCN News reached out to the Niue Health Division for a comment regarding this report. However, there was no response from their end when this bulletin went to air. PNG Prime Minister James Marape has honoured long-standing commitments with Niue by announcing the transfer of outstanding 5 million kina or 2 million New Zealand dollars to the Niue government. According to the PNG broadcaster EMTV, Prime Minister James Marape said the outstanding pledge of 5 million kina was made 10 years ago and he is ensuring it is done now. Prime Minister Marape and his wife flew into Niue last Saturday afternoon. The Prime Minister was welcomed at the airport by the Hakupu youth with a traditional takalo and was hosted to a dinner at the scenic Matavai that evening. In a brief statement, the Niue government said that Premier Dalton Tangilangi, upon greeting the Prime Minister at the airport, said, "We are excited to host Prime Minister Marape and his delegation as we continue to strengthen the ties between our nations." The two leaders and their spouses departed early on Sunday morning, bound for Tonga in time for the official opening of the 53rd Pacific Leaders Forum underway in Tonga until the end of this week. Sir Colin Tukui Tonga is back on the island to continue with the Cool Roof project. The Cool Roof project began in July last year and is part of a global study on cool roof effectiveness on health, environment, and economic outcomes. He shares more on this with our senior reporter Esther Pavihi. Training with the data collectors continued this week, and he has confirmed that the Royal New Zealand Navy will come on board to assist with the project.
Sir Colin Tukui Tonga told BCN News that the team is now ready to commence with the project after receiving the endorsement of the Ethics Committee of the University of Auckland last week. Today, he updated us on what the next steps will be, including the assistance of the New Zealand Navy.
We're ready now to kick in. We are this week doing the second lot of training with our colleagues who are collector data. Basically, we're fortunate the Royal New Zealand Navy has agreed to help us out, put the resin on the roofs when they visit in October at the stage 17th and 18th. They'll make a start preparing, cleaning the roofs, applying the primer and applying the resin for as many houses as possible. It's probably, they're not going to be able to do all 200 houses, but they'll do the majority. Obviously, we're grateful to Clinton, Chapman, Heavey and Chad for helping us out on the application of this resin.
The aim is to interview around 800 individuals from 400 homes on the island in this Cool Roof project.
Next week, the team will visit the houses, seek consent, share information, answer questions, hopefully then get consent. We give you the information sheet, give you some time to think about it, and if you agree, then you consent to participating. Then they'll select the two individuals in the house and they'll start what we call baseline data. That's the process, and that'll take time because obviously we're looking at interviewing 800 individuals in 400 houses. It's not a small. And from that process, we'll be able to select houses to this thing that we keep talking about, randomizing, so that every house has an equal chance of being selected. And assuming they meet the criteria, they will be included. And then once that's done, they would then get the roof prepared and the resin applied. So that's sort of the process. That's the baseline. Once the resin is applied to all houses, then we'll start monitoring the two individual adults in each house over a period of 12 months.
Niue is one of 4 countries in the world involved in this global study, which includes Burkina Faso in sub-Saharan Africa, Mexico from Latin America, New Delhi in India for the Asian region, and Niue for Pacific Oceania region. The full interview with Sir Colin Tukui Tonga will air on Radio Sunshine on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Esther Pavihi for BCN News.
The Department of Transport received its new fire and rescue vehicle last Thursday. According to the New Zealand High Commission to Niue Facebook post, New Zealand is proud to have supported Niue to fund and commission this state-of-the-art vehicle that comes with the latest firefighting technology to respond to an emergency at Hannon International Airport and to protect lives and infrastructure across Niue. New Zealand High Commissioner, His Excellency Mark Gibb, handed over the keys to Premier Dalton Tangilangi last week.
This handing over the fire truck, when I look around this airport, I arrived here in March. The runway was just being finished off, the car park was being finished off, and then we've put new x-ray machines into the terminal as well. And it really does feel as though this is an international airport and getting worthy of that status and as a worthy place to welcome and farewell people when they come to Niue. So having this machine here as well just gives the airport yet another lift, and so really pleased to be part of that, really pleased to be able to hand over the keys to the Premier.
I'm happy that it's here. I know there's a little bit of invoice to go, but the good thing, we can see it with going twice, and I think we'll be happily can pay the completion of this.
The High Commission also acknowledges the former Director of Transport, Honourable Sonia Talagi, who initiated the vision and drove this important project forward. Deputy Director of Business Link Pacific, Paul Wendland, is on the island this week to have meetings with various businesses and how they can support them. With over 12 branches across the Pacific, Business Link Pacific connects small and medium-sized businesses in the Pacific to local advisory services. BLP Quality Approved Network of Advisors offers accessible services for business growth. Furthermore, BLP offers subsidies to help businesses improve their outcomes.
We support small businesses around the Pacific and especially here in Niue with business growth, business support, access to finance and services. So if they need marketing support or export facilitation or import facilitation, financial management, accounting, all sorts of different business services, that's something that we're designed to provide to businesses here in Niue.
Paul, who is based in New Zealand, shared more on his visit this week, working alongside the Niue Chamber of Commerce in coordination with the Niue Department of Tourism and the Niue Development Bank to deliver business support locally.
I'm here this week to work with the Chamber of Commerce and attend their annual general meeting, as well as to hold some individual meetings and to meet businesses to understand how Business Link Pacific can support them.
The BLP Business Support Grant ranges in size from 5,000 New Zealand dollars to 20,000 New Zealand dollars and will be based on the number of employees and the size of the business.
The grants run from anywhere from 5,000 to 20,000 New Zealand dollars, and they are designed to also couple with advisory services. So Business Link Pacific provides a business plan alongside their grant to really help them think through their implementation of that grant and to achieve the most impact for that grant funding. So we work in really close partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, but our grants are open to Chamber members and non-members, but the Chamber of Commerce helps us to run our grants program locally as well. So they're a great resource.
He encourages all businesses on the islands to apply for the grant. More information can be found on the New Zealand High Commission Niue Facebook page.
I encourage everyone to at least look at the application because it really does help guide you as to we base the grant application on accessing finance and investment. So it's a great application because it really walks you through all these elements of business that they should be thinking about anyway. But I'm passionate about small business. I've traveled all over the world working with small businesses, and it's one of the great pleasures that I have in my job is that I get to go and meet people and listen to their ideas. And even if they have a very basic idea, that's something that we can help them to develop and to nurture and to grow and give them the professional advice that they need to grow that idea, backed up with some capital to see it through.
Their core team is based in New Zealand and is supported by in-country partners in the Cook Islands, Fiji, Kiribati, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, and Vanuatu. Business Link Pacific is funded by the New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade and is supported by the New Zealand High Commission in Niue. A newly built tide gauge hut and a mural was unveiled at the Sir Roberts Wharf last Thursday. Manager of the Climate and Ocean Support Program in the Pacific under the Bureau of Meteorology Australia, Celine Becker, shares more in this regards.
In addition to the UNEP Pac 5 activities, the Climate and Ocean Program in the Pacific COSPAC has been supporting the Pacific Sea Level and Geodetic Network for the past 30 years. So Niue has a tide gauge that also monitors land movement, and it's been running for many years. But unfortunately, due to Cyclone Tino back in January 2020, it was washed away. So we've been able to re-establish the tide gauge, so it's back online and operational, and we've moved the communications hut up from low down on the wharf up to a small park area, and we've been able to paint it with a mural from a local artist, and that mural celebrates Niuean culture and tradition with a story about the ocean.
Niue Met Service Director Rosie Misiepo said she is relieved and happy that the hut is now completed. Misiepo added it wasn't easy over the COVID phase, but finally it is in operation, as this will support Niue in terms of early warning for all the severe weather and disaster preparedness and extreme weather events. She added the mural is our connection to the bridging of climate and traditional knowledge. The mural was created by the talented Jaika Vakaafi. The project was funded by the Climate and Ocean Support Program under the Government of Australia and New Zealand Government. The South vs North series was taken out by Team Tafiti for 2024, winning 26-20 with Joshua Bakna Paumale scoring the winning try with only 2 minutes of the game remaining. Tuamotu Niue Rugby League Vice President Dave Ulukita said there was a lot of intense moments in the game and also a good display of skills from both sides. Ulukita added this year has seen the game growing even more, especially amongst youths, with both teams fielding more than several Niue high school students in their squads. Player of the day went to Aaron Tukutama for Tafiti and Mac Fitu Tukinu for Motu. The Tuamotu committee would like to thank all their sponsors, volunteers, referees, sideline officials, team coaches Anthony Paumale and coach Richard Singatanga, parents and their supporters. They look forward to Game 3 in a few weeks' time. And in our feature segment tonight, we are sharing the story of traditional weaver Ahi Cross. Ahi hails from the village of Liku and comes from a family of weavers and watched her elders weave while growing up. Taking us on a journey on her traditional weaving, 70-year-old Ahi Cross said she came from a family of weavers and took up weaving seriously when her daughter passed away. She used weaving as a coping mechanism while she lived in New Zealand.
I was born here, grew up here, have all my schooling here as well. I didn't leave here until I was in my teens. So, yeah, that's me. My parents are Niuean, full-blooded Niuean, of course. So, I am a Niuean person. But then I went away, and that goes on the wayside, of course. But it started again, it spurred on when our daughter died, and I thought, and we were in New Zealand at the time, and I thought that I needed to do something I just needed to do something as if there's some roots around to remind me who really I am, and also if I could use weaving as a grieving process for my grief, and that will be the best way I could do it.
Ahi explains more on the style of weaving she does using pandanus leaves with unique designs inspired by Niue. Her handicrafts are usually decorative and art pieces that can be put up as home or office decors. One of her bowl weavings sold for $20,000.
It's mainly pandanus and, coconut midrib and all the things that that I grew up with over here. So that was mainly the materials I use, because I don't want to veer off to do other things and use other materials, because it is best if you're doing something that, dedicated to where you come from, it's best to use the materials that are from the island.
She explains one of the highlights of her weaving over the past years.
The Premier at the time purchased that for Lady Susan Satianan, which is the, what was it at the time? The guy's wife that came from New Zealand. So, yeah, so that was the thing. The not embarrassing, but I was a bit holding back because the Premier at the time introduced me because he wanted me to present the weaving to the lady, and which is the Governor General's wife at the time. And I was a bit shy, but he says you are to present it because you made it.
She said it is important to keep this tradition alive, especially for our young people. Ahi and her husband, artist Mark Cross, operate their Tahi Ono Art Gallery situated at the commercial centre.
It is very important because not many young people are doing it. It has started to lose its importance because we don't carry it on, and it's important to carry it through. So I think the best thing to do is teach them at school or at home, because that's how we learn. That's how I learn. I learn at home, and then although I didn't practice it throughout until I, sort of in my 30s or so, but it's in you, it's within you, it's built within you, and you don't forget anything once you start it. So that is very important.
And that's our news bulletin for tonight. You can join us next Tuesday for our Wangahau Bulletin. Until then, good evening.